What's up, psychedelic investors? My name's James, and you're watching The Psychedelic Investor, your #1 news source for psychedelic stocks. Today, I am super excited to bring to you my MindMed Nasdaq Uplisting stock predictions, or in other words, what do I think MindMed stock price will be at the end of trading on Tuesday, the first full day the company is on the Nasdaq exchange. So just very briefly at the beginning, I'll just explain what's happening. On Friday, the company MindMed announced their company was being uplisted to the Nasdaq exchange. So previously, they were on the OTC market, the over-the-counter market, and as of Tuesday, they will be traded on the Nasdaq exchange. On this news, on Friday, the stock popped 65%. And that is because by being on the NASDAQ, it's going to give the company, or it's going to give investors rather, that previously weren't able to invest in the company, like some retail investors on platforms like Robinhood, and also some institutional investors like certain types of banks, it's going to give them the opportunity to put money into MindMed. So the stock is currently MMEDF on the American OTC market. However, on Tuesday, that is going to change when they go to the NASDAQ exchange, and it will become MNMD. So very briefly, MindMed is a company that's working on curing or treating mental health issues like addiction, anxiety, ADHD, and more with psychedelics like LSD. They have close to $200 million in the bank, and early scientific studies on the effects of psychedelics in treating mental health disorders have been beyond promising. So in this video, we're going to go through 4 different cases for how the stock is going to end on Tuesday. And these are the worst case scenario, the probable case, the hashtag winning scenario, and the apes together strong scenario.
Apes win war! Apes together strong!
And we're going to give for each of these, in my own estimation, a probability for how likely they are to come to pass. But first, guys, I want to take a couple minutes to use my platform to stress personal responsibility. Nobody knows for sure how the stock price is going to react once it goes on the NASDAQ on Tuesday and beyond. And I want to re-emphasize that despite how bullish I personally am on MindMed, for the long term, the stock is still highly speculative. I have seen some people, and this is why I'm bringing this up, I've seen some people in the comment sections talking about how they're going all in on MindMed in the hopes that this stock does a quick 5x on the NASDAQ uplisting. But as we're going to get to momentarily in my stock predictions, that is by no means a certainty. So if you're putting in $100,000 into MindMed, but you have a portfolio of $1 million plus, great. Hopefully I will see you at Boat Week. But if you're putting in $100K and that is your life savings, or if you're putting in $50K or $20K or even $10K and that's all you have, I would highly suggest you reevaluate. This is an extremely risky bet you're making. Yes, it could pay off. And honestly, on the balance of probabilities, I even think that it's likely to pay off. However, there's also a realistic chance that things could go badly quickly. I'm a MindMed Super Bowl, as I've already said, and I only have about 15% of my portfolio in MindMed. Look, guys, I'm not trying to be a buzzkill here, but within the MindMed retail investing community, I have a relatively large platform, and with great power comes great responsibility. I have a duty not just to be a hype man, though of course I can be that at times, but I also have a duty to you guys, my viewers. So this isn't financial advice, but be responsible with your money. You know what? Screw it. For this one sentence is financial advice. Be responsible with your money. And with that, we can get into my NASDAQ uplisting stock price targets for close Tuesday. But first, if you enjoy this episode and find it useful, invest in the channel with your like and subscribe. Over time, you'll see your investment grow as we continue to bring you the information that you need to know before investing in the psychedelic medicines field. Enjoy the video. So to start off here, guys, I just want to say that for all the figures that are being used in this video, they're going to be in American dollars. So we're going to be using the ticker MMEDF, which is again on the OTC market, and it's going to change to MNMD on Tuesday when it gets uplisted to the NASDAQ exchange. So with that little caveat in mind, our first case is the worst case scenario. And here we see the stock going to about $3 American, give or take 50 cents. And I know, that is lower than where we're currently at. But it could happen for a few reasons. First off, because so many people are expecting this stock to skyrocket come Tuesday, there could be a very realistic scenario where all the buying is happening on Monday, and then come Tuesday they sell off to take a profit. In this scenario, I see the stock price climbing high throughout Monday, and then at open Tuesday, as everyone attempts to sell to secure their gains, the stock will fall precipitously, basically all the way back to where we started before all this happened. Yes, there will still be lots of new buyers, especially in retail. However, they will be offset by all the people positioning themselves now to make a quick buck. And we actually saw something similar happen with Tesla when they joined the S&P 500. Their stock ran up in the lead up to the inclusion, but on the day they actually got included to the S&P, their stock dropped by almost $50. Now, to be fair, within 2 weeks, the stock topped that price again, but that isn't certain to happen in this case. This could be rather exasperated by the rapidly growing short position building against MindMed. Last time I checked, it stood at around 60% and growing. So if the stock does fall, this could set off a chain reaction. We'll talk more about the short position later in our final case, apes together strong, but just keep that back in the back of your mind. So how likely do I think this is going to be when all is said and done that there is essentially no short-term boost to the stock due to the Nasdaq uplisting? Well, on the balance of probabilities, I actually don't think this is going to happen. There seems to be a lot of genuine pent-up organic demand and interest in this stock, and though of course there will be many people profit-taking come Tuesday, I do believe that there's going to be a much larger number of people buying for the first time on Tuesday. So this scenario is not likely, but it's also not impossible. I'm therefore putting it at around 20% probability, which I hope is large enough to scare away people from going all in on this. Again, understand that even if I don't judge this probability to be likely, it is also very possible. So stay safe with your money. That's all I'm asking, guys. Something else to note here is that when we are talking about very short-term price targets in response to an event like the Nasdaq uplisting, creating these targets has much more to do with psychology than based on any sort of fundamentals or science. We're trying to predict what millions of other apes are going to do, and then we're trying to act accordingly. Look, I am a MindMed long-term investor who cares much more about what the stock price is going to be at in 5 to 7 years, when hopefully MindMed is treating currently untreatable illnesses with revolutionary medicines. If that is the case, then in 7 years the stock price is going to be very high, regardless of how the stock performs over the next couple days. If it does fall back down to $3 or even around $2, honestly, I don't care, and neither should you. If you want your gold, you got to hold. Next up, we have our probable case scenario. So despite everything I just said, I do think that it is fairly likely that due to new buyers alone, the near-term stock price should increase significantly. And as you could probably guess from the name, the probable case scenario, I think that this is the most likely case to happen. Now, based on commentary that I see both in stock groups like Wall Street Bets, but also in mainstream media, I do believe that there's going to be enough organic demand that on Tuesday there will be enough people buying to hold off the effects of any sort of profit taking. However, that doesn't mean that I think that the most likely scenario here on out is, say, a 5xing from here, everybody party. No. We've already seen a run-up of 65% in one day, which is hugely significant. Remember that at the close on Thursday before this news was announced, the stock was sitting at $2.13. Many of the people who wanted to buy on this news already have. That doesn't mean that it's over. It's certainly going to keep going up on Monday and maybe even Tuesday, but I don't expect it to do a 5x. If it was going to, I think we would have seen even greater movement on Friday. Therefore, I think it's reasonable from here if it raised another, say, 40%-ish, bringing my stock price target for the probable case to $5. And I expect most of this to actually happen on Monday in the OTC market stock buying, and maybe people upping their positions. And then we'll see little movement on Tuesday as people are taking profits, and it more or less cancels each other out. So just to give myself a little bit of wiggle room, I'm going to expand the range from this probable case to between $4.50 and $6. This will essentially be between a doubling and tripling of the pre-announcement stock price, and this will be a giant win for stockholders. Though, Perhaps not the wild ride some people are hoping for with the Nasdaq uplisting. And furthermore, I'm going to place the probability of this happening, the likelihood of this happening, at around 45%, again, making it by far the most probable scenario. Next up, we're going to talk about our hashtag winning scenario. And if this scenario comes to pass, then boy, are all of us investors going to be very happy. Time to burst out the champagne. Essentially, I see this case as very similar to the previous one, but with less people selling for gains on Tuesday. In this scenario, not only would the stock continue to rise significantly on Monday, but come Tuesday, the rally will continue. The people and institutions buying MindMed for the first time will significantly outweigh all the profit taking on Tuesday. And if this happens, we could see another doubling from where we're at today. And this puts the stock price around $7. And that would be a 228% rise from the time that this was announced, which is really a monster gigantic run. However, having said that, even if the stock does rise to around $7 by close on Tuesday, I would expect it to fall a little bit in the following weeks as the hype dies down, and maybe it would fall back down to around $5. At $7, MindMed's market cap would be just under $3 billion, which for a company with no revenue and whose medicines haven't even completed phase 2 trials yet is still very, very high. So barring a Tesla-like cult following, which we're going to get to in a moment, by the way, MindMed will struggle to remain highly valuated for an extended period of time once the hype dies down. To be clear, if the price does reach $7 or even like $10, I'm not going to be selling any. Even if it deflates, I still believe that in 5 to 7 years, MindMed is going to be worth much more. So how likely is MindMed skyrocketing to a $3 billion valuation, or essentially another doubling from where we're currently at? While I do think the probability of profit taking deflating Tuesday's gains outweighs the probability of the trade continuing to chug along on Tuesday, there is still a relatively high probability of Tuesday closing around $7. So I'm going to rate this at around a 30% chance. Finally, we get to the good stuff, our apes together strong thesis. Of all the distinct possibilities, this one is both the most exciting, but also the most unlikely. Before we get to our price targets, however, we really need to discuss how we value public companies. So traditionally, valuating a company has really been based off of their profits, their revenues, and other financial data that's pertinent. For example, for tech companies, it used to be a gold standard that anything with a price to earnings ratio of 30 or less was acceptable, while higher you probably shouldn't touch. However, this is inherently backwards looking, and it doesn't take into account of the possibility for future explosive growth based on a new technology. With the democratization of investing, we have begun to see that certain companies' stock prices become what some may call detached from their fundamentals. Take Tesla, for example. Their market price went to tens of billions and then hundreds of billions of dollars before they even really started making real profits. So, was this because all of us are just stupid? No. It's because a large population saw the massive potential for game-changing technologies to disrupt entire sectors, and it didn't matter if they weren't going to be profitable for 5+ years. And by driving up the stock price, it actually allowed Tesla to raise more money at cheap prices and then use that cash to fulfill their vision. So in certain senses, it was actually a self-fulfilling prophecy. We may be in the beginnings of a similar thing happening with MindMed. They have the technologies, psychedelic medicines, that may disrupt an entire industry, the mental health pharmaceutical industry, though they won't have profits for 5 to 7 years. Of course, this technology still needs to be 100% proven through long clinical trials, but the data we've seen so far is very promising. So the reason that I have been buying for over a year is because I can see this potential. And as much as I would like to think I'm a genius and I'm the only one who sees this, that's obviously not the case. I am but one ape among many. And if there are a million other people who dress like me, who walk like me, talk like me, then MindMed might just be the next best thing since Tesla. We can already see that people are making posts on Wall Street Bets, the now infamous Wall Street Bets Reddit forum, about this. And if these people, these individuals, if they are convinced in the long-term value of MindMed's technologies, and a significant portion of that 10 million people, those 10 million users, decide to buy and hodl forever, then we could be at the beginning of the next big financial news story. Honestly, if this is the case, and on Monday and Tuesday we see hundreds of thousands of Redditors buying MindMed hand over fist, look guys, the stock could really explode. I'm going to call it a 5x from current levels to rounding up to about $18 a stock. And to be clear, this is a total guess. It would be next to impossible to predict the price action if Wall Street Bets got involved, but it would be wild. So at $18, MindMed would have a market cap north of $7 billion. And for a company with no revenues, many would call that detached from reality. But remember, these companies are only worth what we collectively believe them to be worth. So if you think that in 7 years MindMed could have a revenue of $1 billion plus, then this number wouldn't look so wild. And keep in mind that they're attempting to disrupt a $100 billion market. Add on top of that the rapidly growing short interest in MindMed, and this could be a war that Wall Street Bets would be interested in. Betting on a company aiming to solve addiction, depression, anxiety, ADHD, and more, while having a chance to burn the shorts? Crazier things have happened. Now, having said all of that, I don't actually think this is very likely at all. I think that the 3 earlier scenarios are much more likely, and even if it did somehow reach $18, I would bet that it would then fall significantly in short order, as much as I would want to believe that everybody would buy and hold. There would be too much profit taking. And honestly, guys, if it really did 5x, I would probably take a little bit of profit, not sell everything or most of everything, of course, but just to balance out my portfolio a little bit. And I would expect that to happen among everybody else also. So I'm going to rank this apes together strong thesis of 5xing from here, or MindMed essentially going to $18 at a lowly 5% chance. It could happen, but I don't think it will. For every GME that Wall Street Bets has shot to the moon, there have been a dozen other companies that people have tried to push on the forum that never went anywhere. So if you're betting on this happening, I would just say be very, very careful. To recap, I have 4 price targets for MindMed come the end of Tuesday after a Nasdaq uplisting. First, I see there being a 20% chance the stock dips a little bit from current levels based on people taking profits. This is the worst case scenario. Second, I see a 45% chance of the stock price raising significantly from here to between $4.50 and $6. This is what we call the probable case. Third, I believe there to be around a 30% chance the stock doubles again from where it's currently at to $7 a share, and this is our #winning scenario. And finally, there is a 5% chance of the stock going absolutely wild and detaching from what professional and analysts would consider reality and 5xing from current prices. And that is our apes together strong thesis. So just a reminder, guys, nothing in this video, of course, was financial advice. It was just my opinion as a long-term MindMed retail investor. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider supporting the channel through liking and subscribing. Not only will it help us grow, it will also ensure that you continue to see this content going forward. So that is it for today. If you want to stay together just a little bit longer, click on one of the videos you see on your screen now, and I will see you next time. This is James from The Psychedelic Investor. Peace out, guys.